It's a well-documented trend by now that millennials are likely to frequently change jobs. It's hard to blame them given the erosion of pension benefits and stagnant wage increases at many companies. For many young workers, their best bet for earning a significant wage increase is to jump to another position. But this restlessness may have less to do with earnings than the far more intangible notion of purpose. In studies, this demographic regularly ranks meaning as the higher consideration for employment with their position rather than the old standards of salary and title. In short, there are an awful lot of people out there who are increasingly searching for their purpose in life. And that search is extending to the workplace. Now, don't get me wrong, there's certainly nothing wrong with having a purpose in life. I've just seen at first hand how a great number of people can become bogged down with the pondering of the purpose in life, and that really has a negative effect and prevents them from moving action and moving forward. It all depends on your personality, though. I myself am simply not the type to spend a lot of time reflecting on what my purpose in life should be. However, I do keenly take note of the activities and habits that seem to give me the greatest sense of fulfillment. I strive to provide value to others, colleagues and clients, connections in all endeavors that I do. This gives me some insight that I could probably construe as my purpose, as helping others to grow wealthy and more financially self-sufficient. That said, I don't necessarily set out with this as the fixed idea for the purpose in my hand. It organically grew out of the things that I enjoyed doing. As Mahatma Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I agree with this advice. There is good that you can find in meditating and reading, but make your default mode one that leans towards taking action. By getting out of the house and staying active in a variety of endeavors, you will gain far more greater understanding of what it is that you can fashion your purpose to be. It also can help to create a visual representation of what you think your purpose is, something that acts as a touchstone when you need a reminder of what it is that you're working toward. A famous example of this involves a fellow Canadian, Jim Carrey. Long before he made moviegoers laugh all the way to the box office records, he was another struggling comic. He had really grown up with a burning desire to be in show business and make other people laugh, imagining himself as a guest on Carol Burnett's show. But the odds were plainly stacked against the purpose that he had set for himself. When he was finally old enough to strike on his own, he followed his dream to Los Angeles. But being that much closer to the action just made him far more aware and realize that than ever before that distance that separated him from the opportunities that he was really seeking. As the story goes, he drove up to the Hollywood Hills in one dejected night in 1990 in search of inspiration, in search of a reminder of why he had chosen such a difficult path for his own purpose. Sitting there with hardly a nickel in his pocket and overlooking the city, there was a crushing of his dreams. He took out a personal check, made it out to himself, for $10 million. He wrote in the notation line, for acting services rendered. He dated it, Thanksgiving 1995, and placed it in his wallet and drove home. As the story goes, he drove up into Hollywood Hills on one dejected night in 1990, in search of inspiration, in search of a reminder of why he had chosen such a difficult path for his own purpose. Sitting there with hardly a nickel in his pocket, and overlooking the city that was crushing his dreams, he took out a personal check and made it out to himself for $10 million. He wrote in the notation line, for acting services rendered, and dated it Thanksgiving 1995. He placed it in his wallet and drove home. Now, by the time 1995 rolled around, Carrey was coming off the resounding success blockbusters like Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, and his fee per picture had ballooned to $20 million. Now, don't bounce any checks, but keep the basic concept in mind. Visualize your future and what you would like to see yourself doing then. Use a physical token or reminder like Carrey did, if that helps better envision that future and what the purpose you want to create for yourself. The notion that money doesn't buy happiness is really half-baked. It is plainly possible to be miserable regardless of your stature in life and how many zeros are in your bank account. There's no assurance of changing that with just money, but it's demonstrably clear that having greater freedom and options available to you is an enormous benefit. Most people are clearly much happier when they're able to make decisions about how and where they spend their time, rather than being strictly tethered to a defined place and time for the majority of the year. So if your purpose in life ties into your goal of becoming financially independent, don't be ashamed of that. It's certainly easier to help others and impact the world when you are financially free yourself. My advice would start with getting yourself out of whatever small bubble or comfort zone that you have created for yourself. Just as Carey made that long solitary trek from Canada to Los Angeles to try his hand at pursuing his acting dreams, you need to get out into the world and travel to better reflect on what your purpose makes you come alive. Just as his journey wasn't all rainbows and sunshine, neither will your journey be. It is paradoxical, really, that we yearn for meaning, and yet we also want to maintain that state of perpetual happiness. In his seminal book, Man's Search for Meaning, Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote, "What man needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling of some goal worthy of him." Essentially, his central insight that his own suffering had taught him was that our purpose is not simply to check off goals and achievements. Our purpose is to have something to strive for, something to strive toward that compels us to call upon all of our talents and keep moving forward. This way of looking at life certainly relieves us of some of the pressure of being let down when we aren't really self-satisfied or ever satisfied. Frankl reminds us that we are not intended to be satisfied. We are meant to explore and keep seeking new answers. So to strive to find a purpose worthy of you. Another house or a car could be a good way to reward yourself, but it isn't enough in itself to keep you motivated in the long haul. Serving others, making the greatest use of your natural talent, leaving your community or organization in stronger shape than when you found it. These are the types of purposes that can help you live the most impactful life possible. Think about and even write down how you can describe the purpose of your life today. Do you feel that you have a fleshed out notion of what that is? Or are you still in the mode of searching for a way to define why you get out of bed each and every day, other than simply for habit? Now, my advice is to simply get busy. Plunge into the activities and work that you're gifted at, and really that you enjoy. And keep an eye on how this work can positively affect others around you. Odds are that you'll quickly be on the path to a greater insight into what it is that you have to offer the world, and what your driving force is that in what it should be each day. And who knows, you might even turn it into a significant cash flow stream. And you can also learn more by visiting my website, TonyNewmeyer.com, and registering to receive free trainings, articles, and more. Also, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook, and remember, always live rich.